Paul writes in Romans 2:5, the day of God's wrath, when his righteous judgment will be revealed. God will give to every person according to that which he has done in his body. I want you to hear this. God's wrath is your choice.
And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written: Mystery, Babylon the Great.
Our top story, a terrible mystery gripping the world right now. Birds, fish, and all kinds of creatures just dropping dead in huge numbers for what seems like no reason. Just in the last 2 weeks, the theories and speculation running rampant.
Surprise storms in the southwest, pelting parts of Texas with dangerous hail. And Sam, what a wild night.
Incredible. Right at rush hour, right at dinner time. Take a look at the pictures, and there are lots more of them. Traffic lights, street lights, cars, homes, everything damaged by this hail. Now, this is very good. No watches, no warnings out for this. Rarely do you hear me say this, but there couldn't have been. There was no warning these supercell thunderstorms were going to pop up in the heating of the day. Denton, Plano, Bedford, Dallas, Greenville, Duncanville, all of those areas pounded by these storms. 60-mile-an-hour power winds, 4 1/4-inch hailstones. You don't have to imagine what it's like to be beneath that. Take a look.
Oh my gosh. This is the biggest hailstorm I have ever witnessed in my life. That is hail.
Dallas residents say the hail was the size of hockey pucks, rocketing from the sky.
It just pummeled. It was unbelievable. And the rain, there was so much rain. It was like being in a disaster movie.
Slamming into homes and cars at dinner time and rush hour.
Down! It broke my window! It broke my damn window!
Entire neighborhoods covered in white, like snow, in the middle of June.
It sounded like the house was exploding.
Domestic news, specifically the news today about our weather and our climate. The final numbers are in, and it's official now. This spring was the warmest in the recorded history of the United States. Also, the 12-month period since they started keeping track. These stats make for much more than just a curiosity. The impact on the world we live in is as big as the raging and early wildfires they're fighting right now in the American West. Our report tonight from our Chief Environmental Affairs correspondent, Ann Thompson.
One glance at his fruit-laden peach trees, the biggest crop ever, tells Illinois farmer Chris Eckert the weather is unusual.
We've had to really hustle to get all of our work done in time to be ready to harvest a crop, because normally we'd have another 3 weeks to get everything in place.
The impact of our warming world visible in America's farmlands. Early strawberries in New York, early wheat in Kansas, harvesting on Memorial Day instead of July 4th.
This is the first one that I can remember, so it's one for the books.
Northern Michigan's cherry processors stand empty. A warm March followed by a frost decimated 90% of the crop and killed hundreds of jobs. Now local makers of cherry products must look overseas.
This year we're going to be sourcing some cherries from Poland.
It was a record warm January through May in some 100 U.S. cities, triggering allergies, mosquitoes, ticks, and record wildfires. In Colorado, the issue is bears.
We anticipate a pretty busy summer.
out of hibernation early, and drought conditions could send hungry bears to where people live.
The food may not be there later in the year, at least not in a plentiful supply, so that's what we worry about.
For the past 12 months, every state in the lower 48 had warmer than average temperatures except one. Climatologists say we're in unprecedented territory, and one of the suspects, greenhouse gases created when we burn oil, coal, and gas.
Paul writes in Romans 2:5, the day of God's wrath, when his righteous judgment will be revealed. God will give to every person according to that which he has done in his body. I want you to hear this. God's wrath is your choice. Don't ever get the idea that God pours it on some people and don't pour it on the others. God's wrath is your choice. If you choose to obey God, he said, I will bless you exceedingly abundantly above your capacity to contain it. I will give it to you pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You should be like a tree planted by rivers of living water. Your leaf shall not wither. Your fruit shall bear its season. And whatsoever you do shall prosper. That's the blessing of God. But if you choose not the blessing of God, then you're going to have the consequences of that. The Bible's records speak concerning of man's choice of God's wrath. Men traditionally have chosen the wrath of God. In Genesis 3, Adam and Eve, God said, do not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. In the day that you do, you will surely die. You know the story of how Satan seduced them to eat the forbidden fruit. And God's angels with flaming swords drove them out of paradise. Drove them out of paradise and cursed the man, saying, you shall earn your bread by the sweat of your brow. And cursed the woman, saying, your sorrow shall be multiplied in childbirth. And cursed the ground, saying, thorns and thistles shall it grow. And cursed the serpent, saying, you will crawl on your belly the rest of your life. And those curses exist to this day.
Now, some fresh pickings from the political grapevine. The University of Notre Dame is not the only Catholic institution raising eyebrows when it comes to President Obama. Officials at Georgetown University covered a monogram symbolizing the name of Jesus because it was inscribed on the stage where the president spoke Tuesday. The White House asked for all symbols to be covered at the lecture hall. A university spokeswoman tells Cybercast News, quote, the White House wanted a simple backdrop consistent with what they've done for other policy speeches. The monogram, IHS, which comes from the Greek for Jesus, was covered with a triangle of black painted plywood.
You are now listening to Dancing Beats.
I helped found a company. I learned how America competes with companies in other countries,
The money he has that he didn't inherit is what he made as a private equity mogul, shutting down companies, liquidating their assets, and firing their American workers.
Later, when I served as governor of Massachusetts, I used the skills I had learned in 25 years in business to streamline state government.
To get that kind of money, you've got to cozy up as an incumbent to all of the special interest groups who can go out and raise money for you from their members. And that kind of relationship has an influence on the way you're going to vote.
Romney is one of the biggest flip-floppers to ever grace the GOP stage.
I believe that abortion should be safe and legal in this country.
I believe people understand that I'm firmly pro-life.
You just can't trust a word he says.
I have never seen a guy change his positions on so many things so fast.
I have never supported the President's Recovery Act, the stimulus. No time, nowhere, no how have I supported the President's stimulus.
I think there is need for economic stimulus. Americans have lost about $11 trillion in net worth, and government can help make that up in a very difficult time.
He was pro-gun control. Then he becomes a lifetime member of the NRA.
Mitt Romney is a complete hypocrite and phony.
I think you'll find that I've been as consistent as human beings can be.
If you're looking for someone who's never changed any positions on any policies, then I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy.
I think Americans just don't know sometimes which Mitt Romney they're dealing with.
The new cover of Time magazine today asks the question, why don't they like me?
Mitt Romney spends little to no time doing interviews on the TV, whereas the other candidates are working the Sunday news show circuit like a politician running for president.
Romney often bypassing reporters on the rope line.
Remember earlier this year how Romney got $1 million donation from an organization that just suddenly ceased to exist the next day?
It's really someone wanting to give Romney the money while staying in the shadows.
Mitt Romney stealing all of Barack Obama's big dollar Wall Street donors.
A good chunk of his funds came from his buddies on Wall Street, like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Bank of America.
To get that kind of money, you've got to cozy up as an incumbent to all of the special interest groups who can go out and raise money for you from their members. That kind of relationship has an influence on the way you're going to vote.
But look, I'm not going to spend my time going after Ben Bernanke. I'm not going to take my effort and focus on the Federal Reserve.
Should the chairman of the Federal Reserve be appointed again?
I think he's doing a good job.
You do?
Yes, I do. And I think it's important to have the Fed as an independent agency. I do not think you want to have the Congress of the United States trying to pull strings at the Fed.
He physically, personality-wise, comes across as if he was designed by East German scientists to be the perfect android politician.
I thought it was such a disastrous interview for Mitt Romney.
Romney's donations from lobbyists actually come to more than all of his GOP counterparts combined.
Do you really want this cat to be president?
Romney can't win. He's dead in the water.
There are a lot of reasons not to elect me.
The White Horse Prophecy is a statement purported to have been made in 1843 by Joseph Smith, the founder of the Latter-day Saints movement, or the Mormons. The prophecy speaks specifically of the future of the United States of America and the part that a Mormon leader would play in that future. Pat Begley of the Salt Lake Tribune wrote that Smith and his followers considered themselves to be the last real Americans and the legitimate heirs of the Pilgrims and the Founding Fathers who would be called upon one day to save the United States Constitution. Smith is believed to have said in 1840 that, quote, in the future, when the Constitution hung by a thread, Latter-day Saints elders would step in on the proverbial white horse to save the nation of the United States. Some have speculated on the basis of this so-called white horse prophecy that Mormons expect the United States to eventually become a theocracy dominated by the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. While the authenticity of the prophecy as a whole, which was not made public until long after Smith's death, is debated, the belief that members of the LDS Church will one day need to take action to save the imperiled U.S. Constitution has been attributed to Smith in several sources and has been discussed in an approving fashion by Brigham Young. The prophecy's authenticity has also been vigorously defended by LDS scholar Dwayne Crowther and Mormon fundamentalist Ogden Kraut. Several prominent Mormons have made statements related to the White Horse Prophecy. For instance, U.S. presidential candidate Mitt Romney has said that he considers the White Horse Prophecy to be a matter of, quote, speculation and discussion by Mormon church members. He said it is not necessarily considered official church doctrine. However, professing Mormons, U.S. Senator Orrin Hatch and conservative commentator Glenn Beck have stated on several occasions that they believe the Constitution is now hanging by a thread. This phrase comes directly from the White Horse Prophecy of the Mormon Church. So with the Romney rising, could we be seeing the forced fulfillment of this prophecy? With Mormonism's dubious beginnings, its nefarious attacks on the Bible, the Word of God, and with its denial of the absolute deity of Jesus Christ, and Mormonism's cultic insistence that if one is not a Mormon, they will not participate in the future kingdom glory, as well as Mormonism's odd but deep ties to Freemasonry, we at P.P. Simmons do not consider the Mormon faith to even come close to the faith of biblical Christianity. Of course, the White Horse Prophecy is not a biblical prophecy, but could it be a demonic so-called prophecy, delivered through a spiritually bankrupt religious and political system? Could it be that the Romney rising may really be a descending of the United States of America into an even deeper pit?